This is the Woodbee house on Woodbee Island. Welcome to the tour. Feel free to use the chat if you don't want your voice or video recorded, but feel free to speak up and turn on your mic if you have any questions. This is a live presentation, so definitely happy to have it be as interactive as possible. So if you have questions as we're going through, raise your hand and let's see if we can answer them. You can definitely put them in the chat, or you can follow up with an email and you can send it to info@grouparc.com and we can get back in touch with you as well with more details. Thanks to our sponsors again. You can go back to the homepage and you'll find a link to the sponsors and a little more information on them. And quick introduction to our team here. My name's Scott Levens. I'm a principal architect at Group Architect. Our firm is based in Seattle. We do mainly housing related projects throughout the Northwest, from small single family remodels and new construction up to multifamily mixed use commercial and apartments. I'll introduce co-host next, Adriana.
Hi, everyone. I'm a project designer at Group Architect, and I was part of the design team on this project.
And also joining us is the homeowner and contractor. Lonnie, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good morning. Just a pleasure working with Scott and Adriana on this project, and glad to share it with all of you this morning. My career was in construction, so building this house was kind of the natural progression for build what I want for my retirement. So.
Great, thanks, Lonnie. Okay, here's a quick agenda of what we'll be going through today. We'll be starting with a quick story on the house, going through the green features, going through our design process, showing some of the photos throughout construction. We've got a virtual walkthrough with Matterport we can go through, and both during framing and finishes, kind of give you a tour through the house. And then we've got some professional photos throughout the finished house at the end of the presentation. We'll have a more open Q&A period at the end of the presentation, but feel free if you have questions on anything you see throughout the presentation to just put those in the chat or raise your hand and we can try to answer them as we go. And then we'll kind of at the end, we'll have some more info on how to follow up with any other questions. So as Lonnie mentioned, this is a retirement home for him and his wife. They're moving to Woodbee from the east side over in Redmond area. Looking to do, they were downsizing to a smaller house, but still wanted to have room for family to come and stay with them. So it is a 2-story, 3-bedroom, 3.5 bath house. However, it's really designed as a 1-level house for future aging in place for them during their retirement. If they need to avoid stairs, we've got no stepped entry from the street through the entire main level to the backyard patio. We've also roughed in for a future elevator to get to the basement level and the upper level in the event that they do want to add an elevator in the future. House is about 3,300 square feet, but about 1,500 of it is that the main level living space and their bedroom. House is located on Woodbee Island. It's in a small little subdivision focusing on a green belt. As we get into the design, we'll show how we maintain privacy from the street and really opened up the house to the backyard. I'm gonna mute. I'm getting some feedback from Adriana or Lonnie. And you guys feel free to unmute yourselves as we proceed, and then I won't get that feedback back in my ear, hopefully. So back to the house design, we are so kind of focusing on this green belt. We did have a large amount of glazing in the backyard, have some large openings for indoor outdoor living throughout. The weather's nice, and we did focus on an energy efficient envelope consisting of SIP panels and ICF construction. Some of the green features we'll be highlighting today: structural insulated panels, SIPs, insulated concrete forms, ICFs. Whole house has a rain screen system, and we did focus on improved air sealing and air leakage reduction, testing at 1.33 air changes per hour, as opposed to code max of 5 air changes. Energy efficient envelope with improved R values both in walls, roof, insulated basement slab, improved values on windows and doors, reduced loads for lighting with LED lighting, heat pump on the air handler, and supplemental radiant heat for portions of the house as well with the hydronic radiant heat system. All the water is heated off a tankless water heater with a recirculating pump to reduce water waste at the remote bathrooms throughout the house. Another feature we focused on was indoor air quality. House has only conditioned space. There's no attics or vented crawl spaces. All cavities are fully insulated, so reducing chances for mold, mildew, bugs, and rodents to try to find their way in the home. With the basement is a partial basement and the rest is a conditioned crawl space, an unvented crawl space. Kind of go through those details later too. Do have a continuous air barrier sealing the house on the inside and as well as the outside, with outside having a high vapor permeable weather protective barrier to let any air or vapor barrier that's gets trapped in the wall to escape through the rain screen system. And also to improve indoor air quality, we do have a whole house air purification system connected to the air handler. So if you're unfamiliar with SIPs or structurally insulated panels, here's a photo of what one looks like. A sandwich of foam and OSB panels that can come in quite long lengths, depending on transport mainly. So as you look, here's an axon of the shop drawings from the SIP panels of the house. All the panels are made in factory offsite and shipped to the site. Some of the benefits, it allowed a small crew to frame the house in portions where they could stagger the delivery of the SIP panels to keep the house dried in as they progress through the house. And I believe it was less than a week for the envelope to be framed in, Lonnie, is that correct? I might.
Floor from subfloor to dry in was 2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks, okay. Well, yeah, pretty quick.
Yeah.
The basement, so that was kind of the main house. From the main floor up, we did SIPs for the walls and the roof. When we got into the basement, which daylights to the side, so there's portions of the walls that are above grade and some below grade, we did ICF insulated concrete formwork, which here's a photo of that. It's similar to the walls. It's a sandwich panel. It's kind of a little bit reverse where the foam is on the outside. The inside has a concrete core, which provides thermal mass to the house. So you can kind of see in this chart as temperatures go up and down, typical wood framed house, you're going to see a slight lag in that high and lows as there's heat loss through the house. As compared to ICF house, it's a lot more regulated where that thermal mass really can maintain a more uniform temperature throughout day and night. So jumping into the design next, lot is a small little triangle lot right here, which focused again on the green space on kind of the back triangular portion of the house, and more of a neighborhood on the east. Conceptually, we laid out the house to meet kind of owner's program, consisting of the 3 bedrooms, primary living space on the main floor, master bedroom, and then guest rooms on the basement and the upper level. House has a garage and a large wood shop for the owner to continue to tinker in his construction through retirement. We put both of those more on the street side to really provide some more privacy from the street and focus all the living space on that back green space, so we could have really just a wall of windows as well as possible to that green space to open up to nature. Going through the floor plans, quickly starting the basement. You can kind of see this is the back portion where we did a crawl space, garage and shop above here, central stair, future elevator, guest room with a bathroom, and they have their own separate exit. And this mechanical room and storage. We can kind of get into some photos of the mechanical room a little bit later. Jumping up to the main floor as we come in the main entry, we really wanted to have have limited glazing and on the street side to get privacy, and you can see the backyard really is a lot more glazed. As visitors come through, they can walk through no step walkway to the front door, or there's a set of steps as the site steps down to the street. Once you come in the house, we've designed an open riser stairway, so we really get a transparency straight to the backyard through the house. Laid the house kind of in 3 zones, kind of the bedroom zone, wood shop and garage, and then a linear orientation of living, dining, and kitchen. A small mudroom off the garage near the kitchen. And then on the upstairs, we have a office loft that looks over the living space, and then a second guest room with, again, its own bathroom, and a roughed in for a future elevator. Kind of throughout the design process, we draw everything in 3D, so we can really look at both the interiors and exteriors throughout the design process and through the construction drawings.
Hey, Scott, we have a question. Fred is
Sure.
asking, are the glass walls on the west side of the house?
Yes.
Yes, they are on the west side. It does face a pretty dense green space, so we weren't concerned with too much solar heat gain with all the glazing, given the size of the large trees throughout the entire house on the west and south, which is one of the reasons we eliminated proposing solar PV panels, given the lack of direct sun to the residents. So these views we're looking at right here are the east side, where the openings are a lot more limited. Finishes, we looked at durable finishes, so there wouldn't be a lot of maintenance on the house. We have manufactured stone veneer that came in panels, and it's has some standoffs, so it has its own built-in rain screen system as well. And then we used a composite siding that consisted of fly ash and polymer. That was the main siding for most of the house. We used elements of heavy timber that was exposed, both in timber elements and glulam beams and posts, as well as car decking for the roofs, both at the entry and the back of the house patio. Here's some views of the backyard, kind of looking west, where we had that bigger window wall, and all the glazing from the kitchen to the dining room. And then as we go around, kind of spin around to the north, we've got more of a taller mass, and that's where the neighborhood's a little more dense. So we've kind maintain a little bit of privacy from the neighbors. So let's kind of jump in and kind of walk through some of the construction, starting with excavation and foundation work.
Scott, we have another question from Bunny, and it's, what is a fly ash made from?
Sure, it's a byproduct from coal, and I'm not sure. I'd have to look at. Borel was a manufacturer, and we could get back to you later on where they source their fly ash from.
It's a
Unless Lonnie, you know.
it's from the Pennsylvania and Colorado and Kentucky, Virginia area is where that is. It's all stuff that's been in a pile for years. It's the use of a byproduct that was just sitting there.
Thank you.
Great. I could.
It's very, I can add a couple more things on it.
Sure.
It's very, very stable. It's one of the very few siding products that does not require, it can have actually, it does not require the 6-inch separation from the ground to the siding product. It's totally inert, and you can put it in water and just sit there, and has no effect on it whatsoever. The paint holds it, no expansion, no contraction. Very, very stable.
Yeah, it was easier to work with, and going with like a hardy trim material that's more of a concrete based siding. Is that true, Lonnie?
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
It works just like, it literally works just like wood. And paint's fantastic, and we were able to fill and sand the nails, so they're invisible from the outside. And it was totally applied over a 3/4-inch rain screen system too, everywhere.
Could I ask what the price of that would be, like compared to wood or hardy plank?
I'm gonna say it's probably 10 to 15% more than hardy plank. And
Good. I mean, to use the fly ash though, that would be a great product to. We've got piles and piles of that sitting all over the place.
yeah. I was attracted to it for that reason, but I think mainly what brought me to it is just its intense. It's very stable, because I don't like expansion and contraction, and you seal up a siding job and then it either expands or contracts and tears the caulking, etc. So,
All right,
and
thanks,
it's
Lonnie.
very, and the paint is like, I don't anticipate having to paint this house for 20 years.
That'll be nice. Yeah.
Yeah. I put a link
It's
to
a
that
product that's very
siding company in the chat here too.
It's a product that is very worthy of spending very good money on paint, because it's a long-term investment.
And we've got some more photos of the siding as we progress through these, kind of getting out of the ground.
A quick reminder to a couple folks have joined us midway. We're going to restart this presentation at some point, so feel free to stick around or come back in around, I don't know, 20 minutes or so.
While you've got that foundation picture up there, one of the other things that I used is that the form materials for the footings were just 2x4s, and that is a product, a plastic, reinforced plastic fabric that wraps from the 2x4 down into the footing and back up the other side. So, and other than the cross timbers holding up the rebar support, those 2x4s were all able to be stripped out at the end, and they were completely clean because they're covered from the with the plastic. So the amount of lumber used for the footer forming was very, very little.
And then the other formwork reduction were the walls, where the ICFs were the formwork, so we don't have MDO panels for all the concrete walls in the basement, which you can see on the right.
You can, on that picture on the right, you'll notice in the back corner there some little gray specks across that. Those are brackets that are inserted in the concrete that individually joist hang the floor joist. So the floor system, the main floor system on this house is totally inside of the ICF wall. It does not, it's not a box sitting on top of the concrete. The only thing that goes to the outside surface was the 3/4 inch subfloor decking. And that's a product that is part of the new Dura foam form system.
And Lonnie, feel free to jump in. I'll just kind of keep going through these construction photos. And we're looking.
Yeah, this new Dura form, there were, I had 2 laborers and myself, and from the footings to pour day was 11 working days. We formed and poured all of the walls at the same time, I mean, the same day. So, and then the stripping again was 2 of us or 3 of us for 2.5 days to remove all the bracing and the forms. I mean, the bracing and the planking.
Mm-hmm.
And then the floor systems, the concrete floor, there's 2 inches of foam underneath all of the concrete, including that crawl space area there. And then up on the right-hand picture, the shop and the garage are completely insulated underneath those also, because the shop and the garage actually has in-floor heat. So that space is not, the heating system is totally separate from the environmental controlled residential area.
Flipping through some more of the foundation, and now we're getting up into the wood level. So now and I see there's a question on the SIPS roof. I think let's answer that one when we get to the roof photos. That might help a little bit. Looking at that back window wall with that timber wall frame for the glazing wall in the main living room. And then on the right, we're looking at one of those SIP panels getting craned in place. And you can see, as Lonnie mentioned on the photo on the right, you can see where that ICF wall went above the floor to form a perimeter on the living room. Again, kind of looking at the walls getting placed. Now we've got the walls, we moved on to the roof. Fortunate for a few good dry days for this portion of the work, which is nice, although there was some soakers during the foundation work for sure.
Oh, and during the wall
yeah,
installation
wall time too, yeah.
that we would as soon as the wall was standing in place, we would put plastic over the top of the wall to keep the moisture from sinking in.
So with the, now we're kind of looking at the roof. So the roof is, I believe it's around a R50 roof, continuous insulation roof. So it's an unvented roof cavity. As we got some interior photos we can look, we've sealed all the panel seams to reduce moisture into the cavity itself. And in the event that there is any water, before the roof itself was on, the weather barrier on the roof underlayment has a high vapor permeability to let any vapor out, while also waterproofing any vapor or any moisture in the form of rain to come in. So that was kind of the question concern was on the roof for any concerns with moisture management. And that's how we addressed that concern. And we've done a few other past projects over the last 20 years with SIP roofs and haven't seen any moisture issues in the course of those houses as well.
The product we used for covering the roof immediately after setting the panels was a product called Slope Shield. And so it allows out vaporing. And then when we put the metal roof panels on, we provided a 1/4-inch vent space that vents in at the bottom of the eave and vents out at the high point on all of the roof slopes. So there's, in the event there's ever any vapor transmission through a seam or something on the inside that had a small opening, it will be allowed to vapor, right through the panel into that vented space on the, under the metal skin.
Yeah, I just put a link to that Vapor Shield roof membrane, which is a self-adhered ice and water shield too, versus a nail down membrane on the roof. And the roof itself was standing seam metal roof.
Scott, did you send it to the main chat to everyone?
Oh, no, maybe I
Or-
just did a direct. Let me, can you see the direct messages, Adriana?
No, only the ones that are sent to everyone.
Okay. Let me, I'll send that to everyone here, apologize. There's a link to that Vapor Shield product if anyone wants to research that further, which I think that showed up in the chat now, correct? Great. So now kind of continuing to look at the walls being placed, as well as some of the heavy timber elements on the back of the house. Or the roof panel being placed on the left. Siding is starting to go up. You can see on the image on the right, we have another Vapor Shield weather protective barrier, which is also a high permeable transmission to let any moisture out of the walls out into the rain screen cavity to vent, with furring strips holding the siding off the WRB. And there's ventilation at the top and bottom that's sealed for any bugs to get in, or so they won't get in. The siding itself also has a standoff rain screen system in the panels itself that provide the same benefit as where the panel siding is. Next, we were going to jump into a virtual walkthrough, kind of a quick walkthrough through at the framing stage. We can kind of walk through the main house, and then we'll do another kind of quick walkthrough it when the finishes were kind of punch list level. So not quite finished, but almost finished. We give you a sense of the spaces, and then next we'll show some finished photos. So kind of got the whole house and probably just walk through just the main level. If anyone wants to see a particular portion of the house, feel free to let us know and we can kind of jump around. But if we go out, kind of the main living space. Future kitchen. Here you can see the ceiling where all the, between these green stripes is one panel and the green tape is sealing all the panel seams.
We also, I furred the finished ceilings on the inside down so that all of the wiring in the ceiling was surface mount inside. So there's no penetration into the panels at any point, not even plumbing and vents. They all come through the walls. So there's the only roof penetrations are 2 skylights. And
Yeah.
so that swing around to the nano wall opening there.
Oh yeah, let's see that.
That's the
So here, as you kind of come in from the front of the house, now we're looking at the door to the backyard, which is a accordion nano wall. So that we've got some finished photos to show how it all stacks. So when the weather is nice, you can really open the house to the outdoors. Patio, we've recessed drainage so we can put level pavers. So again, as you come from inside to outside, we don't have any steps down to the patio. Is there anything you wanted to show on this, Lonnie?
Yeah, just that's kind of just a rat slab, 3-inch rat slab that was put down there, which all slopes to the right-hand side and passage through the little curb wall there into the tight line system that will carry that water into the storm system for the subdivision here, but made the pavers really nice, and it provided during main construction provided a large clean area for working too.
Unless anyone wants to see any more of the framing photos, the walkthrough, I might just hop into the finished of these same spaces. Okay, let's start back at the front door. So now we see the painting is happening, so the stairs are still taped off a little, but we did a cantilevered stair tread system, open risers, so as you come in the house, you really get that transparent view right to the backyard. On the right is door for a future elevator, which doubles as just the closet right now. Now we can see that nano wall installed, as well as that patio pavers installed. And looking at the finished living room. And the kitchen with appliances still in process of going in. A range or the cooktop with a downdraft. And then all the dishwasher and has a concealed panel right here, integrate with the cabinetry.
All of the receptacles and the electrical were in the countertop too, to avoid being in the very narrow backsplash or in the glass tile that's above the cooktop area.
it also allowed those walls to get similar to the ceiling to limit all those penetrations in the envelope by having all those. So these are, they're pretty slick. They just have a little pop up. So the receptacles pop up when you need them. Otherwise they're out of sight.
Sure.
Maybe we'll jump up to the loft too on this one. So kind of looking upstairs. And before the railing was
Yeah,
in.
that railing was the product of COVID, that it wasn't there yet. So
Yeah. Luckily construction was able to progress with a finish kind of during COVID, but caused some delays, but they were still able to meet a pretty brisk construction schedule regardless. All right, might jump back into the photos. We can kind of look at some more of the finished photos and then open it up to Q&A, and we can always go back through these walkthroughs if anyone wants to see any of the details up close. So here we're looking at the backyard of the finished house. See the heat pump over here on the side. Really large overhangs on the patio, so when maybe it's a little wet out, but it's still comfortable enough to open up those doors so you can still get some indoor-outdoor spaces out of the rain. And some night photos. Exteriors are landscaping is still, final landscaping is going in, so we have it's a little sparse out here. We don't quite have the front walkway into the front door. We can kind of get a sense of that. See the house and the finishes, the two siding systems we were talking about, as well as the standing seam metal roof. And then in the shop spaces where we had those skylights, so that kind of create a nice bright working environment for the shop. Coming around to the back of the house. So again, from the street, we can come in the garage into the house, or we can come around to the front door again without any steps to get anywhere into the main level.
the paver driveway to return the water directly into the ground.
Yeah, I did a permanent wheel paver system to reduce impervious on the site. And you can kind of see the size of those cedar trees that we protected on the edge of the green space to the west and south. Photos looking up at some of the board form retaining walls and the landscaping. And then as we come inside, that finished stairway. And living room. Fireplace wall, so we place that so we get a focal point outside of the view that blocks the neighbor's house. So you still, most of the window focus is on the green belt, but we still get some nice north light from these tall windows in the side yard. Looking back towards the dining and kitchen, got a few photos of the, you kind of see the nano wall as it opens up. How it can really bring the outdoors in, indoors out. And going into the finished kitchen.
We got a question in the chat asking if is everyone else getting some sort of lag between the audio and the images? Please let us know to just make sure
if
our
I'm going
connection is
going a
working.
little, might be going a little too fast, so we can slow it down a little.
So on Zoom, because I'm in school all the time, but I just got a lag and my screen actually froze. And if you hit escape on your computer, it'll kind of kick you back into where everybody's at, if somebody's having trouble with that. Because mine froze and I was like, oh my God, I can't see anything. And that's how you fix it in Zoom.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thanks, you guys.
We can always go
Beautiful.
back to the to where you guys got missed images or audio. We're happy to go back. And we also have a question from Bonnie. Does the nano wall have any kind of screening?
No, it doesn't. We have a fan on the ceiling of the deck there to kind of confound the bugs. And the other thing is we have very, very few insects on Woodbee Island. So it's, we kind of don't even put screens on our windows.
Yeah, it's on. We're facing a a green belt, but it's not a wetland, so we don't. There's not standing water. So yeah, I guess as you live through the summer, we'll see if a screen might be necessary. But I have family that live on Woodbee too, and yeah, it's one of the benefits they really like up there is the less bugs. It seems for some reason. So.
And we also have a request to talk about budget a little bit, total cost, major items, and the cost of the nano wall.
Well, the overall budget is probably skewed by virtue of the fact that I contracted for it myself and was on the job leading it at all times, every day. So, and was actually the lead and only carpenter on the site. So, right as it sits there today, I have about $240 a square foot in it. 240, 270, something in that area. The nano wall, as it sits there, was about $23,000, and the install was another $2,400 because I had it professionally installed. But on the labor, it really was seriously skewed because I did all of the siding work, all the masonry install, the whole thing. So there's the only subcontractor on the site with electrical, plumbing, mechanical, and drywall and ceramic tile installation. The painting and all the finishing and cabinet install was, interior flooring was all done by myself.
Great, thanks for sharing that, Lonnie.
We have another one. Is it a net zero home?
We didn't pursue net zero, but it is energy costs. Maybe Lonnie, you can speak on that, are fairly low. We don't have an active, solar system to offset the energy use, so there still is energy costs. But do you want to?
Woodbee Island's fairly moderate, but this winter, my daily heating cost when the temperatures were in the 30s and 40s was under $2 a day.
And we're anticipating as you get into the later spring, summer, those costs are going to be pretty minimal to zero.
I really, during construction, even with the openings, open, the floor, the basement to loft, and even while we've lived in it all winter, the temperature variation between the stratas, the different levels, is almost insignificant, a degree or two. I actually thought we'd have some level of issue with that, and that's the reason I put the big circulating fan in the ceiling of the living room. And frankly, the living room and the loft temperature is never different than by more than a degree. So it's very easy to heat and control the environment.
Yeah, you can see that fan Lonnie was just talking about in the living room. And up on the loft, looking down with the railing installed now. A couple of the bedrooms, the upper level kind of sits up high above the street, so we've got some privacy. And then down at the master, did a recess cove lighting to get a nice bright ceiling. And only room with carpeting, everything else was hard finishes throughout the house. One of the bathrooms, again, with a curbless shower.
That's the master bath.
Yeah. And then a little feature owner specialty here of cutting in a hole for controls, so you can still keep all the controls on the same wall opposite the door and be able to turn the water on and off without getting scalded or cold. Another benefit of the heating system, or the water heating system, has a recirc pump, so there's not a lot of lag time for letting the water get the temperature too, though. Great. So I guess if there's anyone that hasn't answered any questions, can kind of open the floor up for any further questions. We can kind of jump back into any part of the house you want to look at further.
Yeah, feel free to unmute yourself. We'd love to make this a conversation instead of just reading questions.
Well, great. Oh, we got one.
Thank you so much for letting us go through it.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. We have a question. What was the source of heat for the hot water?
We have no natural gas on site, so we have propane is the hot water heat, and the backup heating system when the outside temperature goes below 35, it switches to a propane heat source for the duct system. The house has 4 different zones for that, and all the ductwork is insulated and was checked for consistent flow in all the zones. So I have a 1,000-gallon propane tank buried in the driveway. So anticipate buying propane maybe every 2 years. The generator, the backup generator, is also propane fired. And on Woodbee, it's pretty necessary to have a generator. We've since December, we've been on generator power 4 different times. One time for about 27 hours.
And Bob and Mary are asking if there's anything you would do differently looking back.
Actually, no. We've lived in it now since December 1st, and I don't think we would change any design feature at all. It lives very, very nicely. And, you know, this is my first venture into a modern design. My wife and I had always been in a more traditional home, and we thought maybe it would be harder to get used to this, but it actually is. It's fantastic, and I would absolutely do as many windows as possible, always. It's just having the outside be part of the inside of the house is just so wonderful. One of the things I would do again is hire group architects.
Thanks, Lonnie.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks. We're very happy how it
If we could
turned out.
talk you out of retirement, we could hire you as our general contractor on our next project too.
Well, thanks everyone for joining us on this tour. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any follow-up questions, or you can just go to our website and find our contact information as well.